Let's call a spade a spade. The Generation X retirement starts at 55 with about $12,400. That's the whole retirement stack. It's mine anyway. Every financial influencer on YouTube could slap my 401k statement on a billboard and use me as a cautionary tale. And you know what? Knock yourselves out, kids, because I'm not even an outlier. I'm part of the largest, quietest demographic disaster in modern American history, Generation X. The forgotten middle child between the boomers and the millennials. The ones who got handed a 401k, a layoff in 2008, and a complimentary tote bag with the company logo on it, and told to figure it out. So I figured it out. I'm broke. Christ. Try being us for one Tuesday afternoon, pal. The fancy retirement planners selling you 15-step plans will not say this out loud, because admitting it tanks their sales pitch. You do not save your way out of 55 with 12 grand. The math doesn't add up. Not even if you sell the kids' old Pokemon cards and live on store-brand cornflakes until the year 2035. That train left the station back when Kurt Cobain was still alive. Instead, you'll have to restructure your way out of this mess. The way I look at it, well, there are 3 levers. Pull all 3, the bleeding stops. Pull 1, it slows. Pull none, you spend your 70s in a guest room above somebody's garage, watching their dog cry at the mailman. Look, 12 grand at 55 doesn't happen by accident. It also doesn't happen because I was out buying jet skis with my paycheck in 1997. Although, full disclosure, I did consider it once. We are the first generation in modern American history to retire without a pension. In the early 1980s, 38% of private sector workers had a defined benefit pension waiting for them at the finish line. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that number today is about 13%, and most of those people work for the federal government or a teachers union. My dad worked at Bethlehem Steel for 32 years and walked out with a fixed monthly check, full medical, and a watch he still wears to weddings. I worked at a printing company for 19 years and walked out with a banker's box, a 401k statement, and an HR rep named Carla who, and I quote, said, "Good luck out there." Hi, Carla. Hope the dental implants worked out. That's the deal we got. And before any of you boomers in the comments start telling me how you also worked hard, sit down. Nobody's questioning that you worked hard. So did my dad. The difference is your hard work came with a pension, lifetime medical, and a starter house you bought for $31,000 in 1974. Mine came with stock options that expired worthless in 2002. Not the same. Not even on the same map. The market tried to kill us twice. First in March of 2000, Pets.com, Webvan, the dot-com bust. NASDAQ lost 78% of its value over 2.5 years. Cobain had been dead 6 years by then, and we were finally feeling grown up enough to actually invest. Then March hit, and every Gen Xer who did the responsible thing and dumped their 20s into a stock-based 401k got wiped. Took 6-7 years to claw back. Then 2008 happened, and the S&P dropped roughly 38% in a single calendar year. My buddy Dave had $84,000 in his 401k that summer. Came out of 2009 with 31. He didn't drink for a month. Started again in February. Then the boomers needed help. So did the kids. Pew Research says nearly half of Gen Xers are simultaneously dealing with an aging parent and an adult kid still on the payroll. The sandwich generation. Cute name for being financially eaten from both ends, while you try to put $1,400 a month into a Vanguard account that the market keeps treating like a piñata. Lever 1, kill the debt. And I mean kill it. Like it owes you money, which it does. Look at your last credit card statement. Look at the APR, 21%, 24%. Some of you reading this right now have a Capital One Quicksilver running at 29. The Federal Reserve says the average credit card APR in this country crossed 22% in 2024. That's not a loan. That's a hostage situation. Gen X carries more credit card debt than any other generation in America. More than the boomers. More than the millennials. We are leading the league, and the league is bad. Experian's 2024 State of Credit Report puts the average Gen X household with credit card debt at around $9,000. $9,000 at 22% APR is roughly $2,000 a year just to stay in place. That's a flight to Italy you're sending to Jamie Dimon every year because you didn't pay off your visa. Hi, Jamie. Enjoy the Aspen house. Do the math. The S&P returns roughly 10% annualized over the long run. Your credit card costs you $22. If you put $30,000 into a 2030 target date fund at 55, your expected return is about $3,000 a year. Put that same $30,000 against your credit card balance, and your guaranteed return is $6,600, twice as much, risk-free. The credit card company can dress it up however it wants. The math doesn't care. You may need the avalanche method, not snowball. Traditional debt payoff methods focus on psychology over math, but we don't have time for psychology. Highest interest rate first. Pay the minimum on everything else. Throw every spare nickel at the worst offender. Walk down the list. Freeze the cards. Literally, stick them in a Ziploc of water in the freezer next to the tater tots. Susan in Cleveland did this in 2022. She's debt-free now, and she's got a hell of a conversation piece next to the Eggos. One thing, the mortgage stays. If you locked in 3% in 2020, do not pay it off early. Do not let some YouTube finance kid in a Patagonia vest tell you otherwise. 3% debt against 10% returns is the only free money this country handed Gen X in our entire lifetime, and we are not giving it back. Where you live is killing you. That's lever 2. Not all of you. If you locked in 3% in a Texas suburb in 2020, congratulations, you're sitting on a winning lottery ticket. Stay put. The rest of you, look around your kitchen. If you live in New Jersey, your median property tax is now $9,500 a year. $9,500. According to Adam Data Solutions, that's the highest in the country. Illinois is right behind. New York, Connecticut. If you live in one of those 4 states and you're trying to retire on Social Security, plus my $12,000 in a 401k, the property tax alone will end you. You will work until you die in your house, surrounded by linoleum from 1987 that you've been meaning to replace. Now look south. Tennessee's median property tax is about $1,300 a year. Alabama, under $700. Wyoming, Mississippi, Arkansas, all under $2,000. The Tax Foundation publishes this every year. It's not a secret. It's just inconvenient for everyone who built their identity around being a New Jerseyan. The property tax is half the bleed. The other half is state income tax. 9 states don't have one. Florida, Texas, Tennessee, Wyoming, you know the list. Move to one of those, and the state takes 0. Not from your Social Security, not from your IRA withdrawal, your Roth withdrawal either, not from your part-time gig at the hardware store. California, meanwhile, can take up to 13%, depending on your bracket. New York and Hawaii are close behind. Stay where you are paying that. You are deliberately tipping the state government every year for the privilege of looking at the same skyline you've been looking at since the Clinton administration. I know. Your friends are there. Your church is there. Your dentist, Dr. Patel, has been seeing you since 2004, and he knows about the molar. I get it. But you're not retiring. You're staying late. You can have Dr. Patel, or you can have retirement. Pick one. Bob in Hoboken figured this out in 2023. Sold the house his ex-wife picked out for $800,000. Moved to Knoxville. Bought a 3-bedroom ranch for $290,000. He was paying $9,000 a year in Jersey property tax. He's paying $1,100 now. That's almost $8,000 a year Bob gets to keep. Over 20 years, that's $160,000 Bob does not have to hand to Phil Murphy. Hi, Phil. Enjoy the pension I helped fund. Bob has a porch. Bob has a Smoky Mountains view. Bob does not have a property tax bill that requires Tums. Same lever, second half. The house itself. Even if you stay in your state, the 4-bedroom colonial you raised 3 kids in is no longer the move. 3 of the bedrooms are storage. The basement smells like wet cardboard. The HVAC unit is the same one the previous owners installed during the second Bush administration, and Larry from down the street, who fixes them, told you last Tuesday you should really replace it before winter, or, quote, something's gonna happen. Add up what the house actually costs you. Property tax, insurance, HVAC, the roof you keep meaning to deal with, the lawn guy who jacked his rate up to $80 a visit. The National Association of Realtors estimates the average homeowner spends about 3% of their home's value a year on maintenance. On a $400,000 house, that's $12,000 every year, forever. And that's just maintenance. Doesn't include the tax, the insurance, or the kid's old bedroom being heated, cooled, and lit at 40 watts for a person who hasn't slept there since 2015. Sell it. Buy something smaller, 2-bedroom condo with a parking spot, 3-bedroom ranch in a town with one stoplight. Take the equity. First, the emergency fund. 6 months of expenses, and not the inflated number you're spending now. The actual stripped-down post-move number. The one without DoorDash and 3 streaming services, and the gym you haven't been to since the Obama administration. Park it in a high-yield savings at Ally or Marcus, 4% or so. And forget the password. This is what stops you from cracking your 401k open in February when your transmission dies in a Wegmans parking lot, because it will. Probably in the rain. Probably while you're on a call with Dr. Patel about the molar. Once the emergency fund's done, max your catch-up contributions. This is the one moment the IRS throws Gen X anything resembling a bone. Over 50, you can stuff an extra $7,500 a year into your 401k on top of the regular limit, another $1,000 into the IRA. And if you turn between 60 and 63 before 2029, the Secure Act 2.0 Super Catch-Up cranks the 401k number to $11,250. 11 grand a year of tax-sheltered space. Basically gifted. Take all of it. Thanks, Congress. For once. Whatever's left, taxable brokerage. Vanguard Total Stock Market Index, VTI. Buy it, leave it alone. Do not log in to look at it more than twice a year. Do not buy individual stocks. Do not buy crypto because your nephew told you about it at Thanksgiving. And no, you are not buying whatever your buddy at work has been pumping in the break room since 2023. You're 55. You do not have time to be a hero. One more thing your HR rep won't bring up unless you ask. If your job's got an HSA, max that thing. The HSA is the only account in the entire tax code where the IRS lets you skip the bill 3 times. Going in, while it grows. Coming out for the doctor. After 65, it acts like a regular IRA. Pull it for anything. The closest thing to a free lunch the federal government has ever handed Gen X. And most of us are too busy reading the open enrollment PDF on our phones in the parking lot to notice. Hi to whoever in benefits sent that email. Some of us actually read it. I'm gonna stop being a smartass for 1 minute. The Pokemon cards line earlier. I was kidding. The version that's not a joke is the one I think about at 1 in the morning, sitting 3 feet from a wife who has been politely pretending not to know about the 401k for the last 2 years. The version that's not a joke is, you're 55. You have been working since you were 15. You did almost everything right, and you still might have to sell your kid's stuff at 55 so you don't have to ask him for help at 70. The thing nobody tells you about turning 55 with 12 grand to your name is that the shame is the heaviest part of the bill. Heavier than the property tax, heavier than the maintenance, heavier than Carla. It is what keeps Gen X from telling anyone about this, which means Gen X is sitting in millions of separate kitchens having the same private breakdown. So let me say what I'm pretty sure nobody else is going to say to you. You followed the playbook. The playbook was written by people who already had pensions. You are not running late on a race. You are running on a track that got rerouted while you were already on it. Around the time we were learning fractions, somebody in a corporate office decided the 401k was the new pension. Nobody sent us the memo. We just kept running. And then you got to work anyway. Because that's the other thing about us. We always do. Lever 3 is time. And this one, you're gonna hate me for. Social Security, the third rail of every retirement conversation. Nobody under 60 wants to think about it. Nobody over 70 will shut up about it. If your full retirement age is 67, which it is for anyone born 1960 through 1964, the Social Security Administration says the average retired worker collects about $2,000 a month at that age. Take it at 62, the earliest you can. You eat a 30% permanent haircut. $2 grand becomes $1,400 for the rest of your life. Until you die. Until your spouse dies. Locked. Wait until 70. Every year past 67 adds 8%. 3 years, 24%. $2 grand becomes $2,500, and nobody can take it back. If you live to 85, which the Society of Actuaries says is the average for an American man, claiming at 70 puts about 60 grand more in your pocket over retirement than claiming at 62. Live to 90, you're up 120 grand for continuing to exist and not signing the paperwork before you have to. And if you're married, your bad call screws 2 people, not 1. Your spouse can pull up to half your check while you're both still breathing, and the full amount the day after you stop. Claim early at 62, and you're locking your wife into your smaller number too, forever, after you're gone. She gets to live on the haircut you took to retire 2 years sooner, so you could buy a slightly nicer fishing boat. There's a $170,000 version of this story for couples that get the timing wrong. Look it up. Yeah, but what if I drop dead at 68? I hear you. Statistically, you won't. Your dad lived to 81 and ran a forklift 4 days a week until he was 73. Your mom is 79 and yelling at the QVC host through the television. You are going to live. The question is whether you live on $1,400 a month or $2,500. The earnings test. Claim at 62 and keep working. The SSA claws back 50 cents on every dollar you earn over 23 grand a year until you hit full retirement age. You're not just locking in the smaller check, you're paying for the privilege. Hi, Frank in actuarial accounting at Woodlawn. Tell your supervisor, we found the loophole. Same lever, the practical half. Working until 70 doesn't have to mean 10 more years in the same fluorescent box where they put your boss in the corner office in 2015 and your stapler's been there longer than 3 of the VPs. You got options. The bridge job. You retire from your full-time gig at 63, 64, and go work 20 hours a week somewhere that doesn't crush you. Home Depot, Lowe's, Costco. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says 1 in 5 Americans over 65 is still working, and a lot of them are doing exactly this. They make enough to delay touching Social Security and keep health insurance until Medicare kicks in. Medicare, 65. That's the real unlock. Once Medicare starts, you stop needing your employer for health insurance, which means a part-time job, a freelance gig, working for yourself, all become real options. Before 65, your job is basically a health plan disguised as a job. After 65, you're not begging anymore. Consulting in your old field. You spent 20 years figuring out how not to burn the building down. Somebody will pay you $120 an hour to come tell their team how you did it. You're actually pretty good at this, by the way. You've already made all the mistakes. 20 hours a week of that is 120 grand a year, pre-tax, no benefits. But at 65, you don't need their benefits. Phased retirement at your current shop. AARP says only 6% of U.S. employers formally offer it, but about 30% will quietly do it if you ask. Drop to 30 hours, keep your insurance, keep your title, retire in 3 years instead of 0. Worst they say is no. And if they say no, Costco is hiring. Hi to the 28-year-old HR coordinator who's going to interview me. I want the position because I need to eat, Brandon. Thanks for asking. Anyway, $12,400 at 55, 3 levers, a wife who has been politely pretending not to know about it for 2 years. I'm not going to tell you it's going to be fine. The financial influencer kids in the Patagonia vests can do that part, free of charge. $12,400 at 55 is not the end. It is not your obituary. It is a starting balance on a 15-year math problem you actually know how to do now. My buddy Dave, the one who lost half his 401k in 2008, he's 61 now. 220 grand in retirement accounts. Started from $31,000 17 years ago. Paid off the cards, sold the Colonial and Edison, moved outside Nashville. Consults at $80 an hour. Plans to claim Social Security at $70. He still drinks in February. Some things you don't fix. $12,400. That's where I am tonight. I'm going to do what Dave did, probably with more swearing. The largest, quietest demographic disaster might be about to become the largest, quietest comeback. Knock yourself out. Cobain's been dead for 32 years, and we're still here, doing what we always do, which is surviving. Catch you on the flip side, friends.